Hey guys, what is up? My name is Nicholas Yeo and I'm a core anesthetic trainee in the Glasgow Royal Infirmary in Scotland. So I've put together a small talk to help you guys in your studies for the MSRA. I've split the talk into two parts. Part 1 will be talking about the professional dilemmas paper and also the booking of the MSRA. And in part 2, we will be talking about the clinical solving paper, how the MSRA is being scored, and more. I've only taken the MSRA examinations in early January this year, 2022, and I hope to be able to provide some information to you guys or be a guide to help you effectively study and also to score well in the MSRA just like I did and hopefully secure a spot in a training post that you want. I promise that this will be worth your time, short and sweet, so sit back, relax, and I hope you enjoy the talk. So let's start off by understanding what the MSRA is. The MSRA examination is also known as the Multi-Specialty Recruitment Examination. It's basically a computer-based examination used for recruitment into different specialty training posts, as I have listed down here below. It's only recently that core surgical training recruitment has actually included the MSRA for the shortlisting of interviews. The MSRA is basically a test that's being set up to test your knowledge and professional values required of a foundation year 2 doctor level. And the reason why specialties have been using the MSRA as part of their recruitment process is because they found out that there is a correlation with better performance in interviews. So basically, someone who scored better in the MSRA tends to perform better in the interviews. Or in a sense, using the MSRA would actually pool a higher quality of candidates for interviews. So unfortunately, no matter how good your portfolio is, some would see the MSRA as a barrier towards your interviews for applications. So the MSRA consists of two papers totaling 170 minutes. You start off by taking the professional dilemmas paper, which is 50 questions, and you're given 95 minutes to complete that. There are two types of questions in the professional dilemmas paper, ranking and multiple choice. After which, you're offered a 5 minutes optional break before attempting the clinical solving paper, which consists of 86 questions and you're given 75 minutes to complete that. There are also two types of questions in the clinical solving paper, and standard matching questions and single best answers. You do have to take note that there is no negative marking, so make sure you answer all these questions. So the professional dilemmas paper is similar to the situational judgment tests that you would have sat as a medical student if you did your final year in the UK. I know it's stressful attempting the SJTs as a medical student, as I also didn't do very well and I scored below average for my SJTs as a medical student. So fear not. I'm here to give you some advice on how I managed to score better in this section for the exam this time. So according to the MSRA official website, there are 3 core domains or themes that are tested in the professional dilemmas paper. It's shown here, okay? And these 3 themes also have subcategories on the qualities or values that you should have as a doctor. So my first advice to you is to know and get familiarized with these themes into great detail. You know, it's like playing sport. Different sports have rules to their games. If you're able to identify these rules within each core domains, it will actually help you a lot in influencing your decision making and ranking when you're attempting all these questions. The truth is, the examiners can try their best to tweak the wordings and change the scenarios in each question, but there will always be a core identifiable theme in each question, and if you can identify that, it's already half the battle won because you've now known the rules to the game. So let's put this into practice. My role here is to share and guide with you what goes through my mind when attempting these questions and how to effectively answer them in the shortest amount of time. Let's take a look at one of the sample questions that you can find on the MSRA website. You can read this by yourself on your own time. The question basically talks about you being an F2 doctor reviewing a patient with multiple admissions for COPD. She has been advised to stop smoking, but she can't because she worries for her daughter, Kirsty, who has financial difficulties. She works overtime to support her daughter. Now, just by reading the question itself, out of the 3 core domains that we've talked about earlier, I can tell you that this is a question revolving around empathy and sensitivity. So let's put that out to help out with our decision making. So as we can see here, some of the values and qualities in empathy and sensitivity are demonstrating an understanding of others' situation and circumstances, empowering patients through involvement in their own care, acknowledges and explores the patient's wants and needs, and also acting in an open and non-judgmental manner. Right, so let's have a look at option A. Advise Eileen that she must give up smoking for her health. So you will learn this as you're doing your question banks. Buzzwords such as must is really strong, very confrontational, with lack of sensitivity at times. Just by telling Eileen to give up smoking with no other alternatives or considerations automatically makes it fall into my least appropriate responses, or one of my least appropriate responses. So if you look at option B, inform Eileen that she continues to smoke, her health may deteriorate and she may not be able to work at all. The question uses words such as inform and may. We are being honest here that if she continues to do what she's doing, her health will fail, and that's together with her job, which is the harsh truth. If I was looking at this option for the first time, it doesn't fall in my least appropriate or most appropriate response. But most importantly, it doesn't fall lower than A. So in the meantime, I'm just going to ignore this option while ranking. Now, if you look at option C, suggests to Eileen that it would be beneficial to explore ways to manage her worries. Now, the question uses beneficial, it uses explore. Even in the core domains, it says to explore the patient's wants and needs. I think it's really non-judgmental the way the answer is being portrayed, and you're offering a solution and also acting in an empathetic manner. This option automatically falls within my top 2 choices. So let's look at option D now. Ask Eileen whether Kirsty has sought professional financial advice. Now, asking and inquiring, it's indirectly also offering a solution, but in a non-judgmental manner. So it falls also high up the list for me. You know that she and her daughter is struggling financially, and you want to know if they have exhausted their options. It's also empathetic and sensitive at the same time. So it competes at the top spot with option C. But when I compare C and D, I feel that option C is less judgmental. Now, one of the rules, remember we talked about rules recently, one of the rules of empathy and sensitivity is to act in an open manner. And I feel like option C seems to be more open than option D, as D is more direct into a specific issue. So I would rank C as 1 and D as 2. So let's have a look at option E now. Suggest to Eileen that Kirsty should not be causing her to put her health at risk. Now, Eileen is a mother who loves her daughter, and she's doing this out of care and love. So this is actually very judgmental. Now that we have actually ranked C and D, amongst A, B, and E, I feel that A is strongly negative. Telling her not to smoke with using must, and also with offering no other alternative, I would definitely rank A as last. Now at this point, you find that you've spent a considerable amount of time ranking your first 2, which is C and D, and also your last option, which is A. So don't be bothered in deciding whether B or E comes first or second, because it's not the best use of your time. The way ranking questions are being marked is how close your answer is to the model answer. So as long as you got your top and bottom answer right, there's actually less room for error in ranking those options in between. So you actually get a decent score in the end. So these are my main tips when attempting ranking questions. You firstly want to identify what domains are involved when you read the questions and get access to those set of rules that you have acquired while practicing on your question banks, okay? You also want to know if the question, after you read it, is this an emergency or is it something can be dealt at a local level first? Or in another sense, you want to assess the severity of the scenario. And after that, just read through the options. There's normally 1 or 2 options which falls within the best or the worst category. And try and decide what would you put as most appropriate and what would you put as least appropriate. And then just fill up the options in between. If you don't have enough time, don't try and spend too much time guessing what falls in the middle, because as long as you've got the best and the worst answers right, you're guaranteed actually a decent score. Sometimes if you're undecided on which options to rank higher than the other, you can always use levels of seniority appropriately. For example, going to the reg first and then the consultant, or when ranking the least appropriate response, most but not all of the time, making the situation worse, always rank lower than doing actually nothing at all. So the second part of the professional dilemmas paper is the multiple choice section. In these questions, you are deciding 3 of the most appropriate actions out of the 8 options available. Use the same skills which I've taught you earlier in attempting these questions. Most of the time, it's easy to identify 2 out of 3 most appropriate response. So if you don't have time, just guess the last option and move on. Out of 50 questions, if you read the MSRA website, around half of the questions will be ranking and the other half will be multiple choice. Now, my last and final advice for you guys is to read the GMC's Good Medical Practice Guidelines. It covers some important topics that could come out in the professional dilemmas paper, such as knowledge, skills, performances, safety and quality, communication, teamwork, and also maintaining trust. I've read it twice. It only takes about less than an hour if you skim through it, but it has been really helpful in my preparations for the MSRA, and that's why I'm recommending this to you guys. Now, one of the many things that is often overlooked is the booking of the MSRA. Okay, the MSRA is hosted by an external company called Person View, and I would highly recommend you to look it up online on the available centers near you so that you can potentially book a test which is more convenient. The reason being is on the day of the booking, you will realize that keener candidates will quickly book up the slot, leaving you with undesirable dates and timings. So I've booked my MSRA examination on the first available time slot of the day and did not regret it. The reason being is that when I turned up early for the examination, I was allowed to start 15 minutes early as there wasn't much of a waiting time. Whereas when I came out of the examination room, I could feel the anxious aura of the other candidates waiting to sit the examination. So my advice is, unless you want to wait, just sit the exam in first thing in the morning, get in early, get it done and over with, and enjoy the rest of your day. Right, I'm just putting this slide on as like an example on how I do my notes for the professional dilemmas paper. I try to write down rules which I can imprint on myself, and it also gives me a quick run through on what I need to know the day before the examination. If not, that's all I have to advise you about the professional dilemmas bit. I hope to see you guys in the next video and catch you guys next time. Bye!